raids. Vijay Sundar's name was said every day on news, right? So he has rendered the huge service to the country as a police officer. So improving in his position. Finally, he reached that position, the pinnacle of the position, IGP, and did the great service. But unfortunately, uh, for professional negligence. I think they were given death penalty for professional negligence. අපි කියනවා සාපරාධි රාජකාරී පැහැර හැරීම. ඒක තමයි මරණ දඬුවම දෙන්න හේතුව. හරිද? Professional negligence to James and also the same. However, now they have been given punishment. Now they have a chance to appeal. Right? They have another chance to go to Supreme Court, and I'm sure they will definitely appeal against it. They have that right. Okay, their lawyers will file the case and appeal. And when Hemsri Farhan, the former defense secretary, Hemsri Farhan was given the opportunity to give excuses, to say something for not giving capital punishment, he said that he said he gave a very long and a very controversial statement, right? Actually, my personal opinion now, before giving capital punishment to them, they are officers, right? They are responsible. It is said, it is crystal clear that they have neglected their duty. That is why it is called professional negligence. And as a result of that tragedy happened, and hundreds of people died. A similar number of people lost their limbs and they became permanent disabled. That thing happened is true, right? However, before then, there are other culprits who must be arrested and who must be sent to gallows, especially Maitripal Sisena. Now, in Mr. Fernando's statement, that excuse, he said, there is no position called defense secretary. You know, in America, there's a person called secretary, state secretary, defense secretary. America, state secretary, defense secretary, and war secretary, that the for the heat exit killing. America, in Sri Lanka, there is no such a person called defense secretary. Right, that name was used by Gotabaya Rajapaksa when he was working as the secretary to the Ministry of Defense. Right, they misused it. Right, after that, people got used to that name. Otherwise, there is no such a position or name for defense. The right position is the secretary to the Ministry of Defense. Okay, the secretary to the Ministry of Defense or the secretary to the Defense Ministry. So in every ministry, there's a secretary, health ministry, education ministry, labor ministry, right? In all the ministries, there's a secretary. The secretary's task is, his job is doing the administrative part of the ministry, right? The giving orders, and the political part is done by the minister, relevant minister. So here in our country, mostly the president is the one who becomes the defense secretary. So at that time, the president was Maitripal Sisena. So officially, he was the Minister of Defense. And at the time of the attack, at the time of the East Sunday attack, he was not in Sri Lanka. He was in Singapore. From his side, he says he went to Singapore to get treatments, and he was in ICU at the time of the attack. And it is said that Maitripal Sisena was doing shopping and he was having fun at the time of the attack. They are gossips, so I'm not going to talk about them. Right? They will be revealed now. However, now the president was away from the country at that time, right? So the time of the attack, in such a situation, the relevant secretary becomes helpless, because when the relevant minister is away from the country, especially away from the ministry, all the responsibilities fall on the secretary. But secretary cannot take all the decisions. He cannot give the orders to all the officials. What he does is doing the administrative part. So he became helpless in such a situation, in such an attack, right? I think it was they had been informed around 98 times. So even 12 hours before the attack, they were informed. Some SMS messages were WhatsApp messages were sent. This attack is going to take place by Neelam Jayawardena. It is said such things are there. So in such a situation, the secretary becomes very helpless, because he cannot take all these things and he cannot give orders. So I think a bigger responsibility falls on the relevant minister. The minister is Maitripala says, so Maitripala says, cannot wipe his hands like this and say, no, I'm innocent. I was away from the country. I was in ICU at the time of the attack, so I don't know anything. Right? I'm innocent. No, he can't say like that. He cannot be a baby. Right? He cannot be a toddler. A huge responsibility falls on him. And that's why I say Maitripala says he must be arrested. He must be questioned and he must be sued and he must be sent to Velos before them. Right? I'm not going to say that giving death penalty to Pooji Jayasundar and Hemesri Fernando is very unfair. I'm not going to say if I say so, it becomes a contempt of court, and I also will be sent to jail. Yes, I also will be sent to jail. I'm not going to say that. I think they neglected their duty, their responsibilities too. For that, they had been given the relevant punishment. Before that, before they are given the punishment, there are bigger culprits, there are bigger buggers, especially Maithripal season and other officials, other officials are there. They also must be arrested. They must be questioned. They must be put to the relevant investigation. Right. So all before them, they must be punished. They must be sent to gallows. Okay. That's why I say, and Mrs. Fernando says, and Mrs. Fernando says, he's a heart patient, and his heart surgery was supposed to be done 10 days ago, and despite of his heart surgery, he came to the court to give support to this case, right, to the case hearing, and he's 76-year-old person, and I must live. I should live until I'm hanged. I don't. So he said, I don't know when I will be hanged. Right, the hanging is decided by the president. Right, so until he is hanged and killed, he should live. Now imagine what sort of a stress, what sort of a tension they are both. Right, uh, their wives, their children, their family members, their relations, what sort of attention they must be. Right? They are decorated officers, right? Educated persons, some persons who have done a great service to the country. Right? So what may be their mental conditions? Especially Bodhi Sundar, I think Sundar says in his statement, he doesn't have a proper place to live. He had dedicated his whole life to the country, to police department. How right? So they must be given some kind of a chance. They will appeal, and I think in their statements, when analyzing the things, the statement what they gave, it's very clear that they will stand a very good chance to be acquitted. They will have a very good chance to be acquitted in the appeal case. I'm not going to talk about it. So let's see what will happen. However, their mental condition should be taken into consideration, right? That's the most important thing. So imagine now they must be in jail as death sentence prisoners. Imagine what sort of condition they are in, right? I think it's very horrible. Something that gave a huge pain to my heart. Right, it's a different thing. Now let's go to a news item. I think there's a nice news item about that capital punishment. Let's go to it. All right. This is the news article on Daily News e-paper. Here, this is the title. I will show you the title. Charges of Pujita Emissory sentenced to death. Charges of murder, attempted murder. Judge Virasuri delivers dissenting judgment. Pujita Emissory sentenced to death. Pujita Emissory again. මරදඬු දුන්නා කියන එක. Charges of murder කියන්නේ මිනිමැරීමේ චෝදනා. Attempted murder මිනිමැරීමට තැත්කිරීමේ චෝදනා. Judge Virasuri delivers dissenting judgment. Virasuri කියන මිනිසුරුවර දීලා තියෙන්නේ වෙනත් ආකාරයක තියෙන බෙදුණු තීන්දුවක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ. බෙදුණු තීන්දුවක ඩිවිෂන් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට බොහෝ chance එකක් වෙනවා අපීල් එකේදී. මේරෙන්න. හරි. බලමු. The Colombo Permanent High Court trial led by yesterday's sentence to death former IGP Pooji Jayasundar and former Defense Secretary Hemesri Fernando on charges of murder and attempted murder related to the East Sunday terror attack on April 21st, 2019. Right. Let's read it. Let's try to understand it with the new words, paragraph after the paragraph, paragraph by paragraph. The Colombo Permanent High Court trial led bar. The Colombo Permanent High Court, Colombo Sthira Mahadhikarane, the trial led bar. The legal terms, legal words, so we trial led bar again, Triputhala Mahadhikarane Misnod like trial led bar. Another 3 judges bench, again 3 judge bench, trial led bar. Triputhala Mahadhikarane Misnod yesterday, EA sentenced to death. And that means death sentence was given. Capital punishment was given. Sentence to death former IGP, former again former IGP. IGP stands for Inspector General of Police, right? Inspector General of Police. And former again police pati, Poli Jayasundara, and former Defense Secretary, and former Defense Secretary defense ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්. ඒතර ආරක්ෂක ලේකම් කියලා ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ලේකම් කියලා හරියට. ඒ වගේ Fernando on charges of murder and කියන්නේ මිනි මැරීමේ චෝදනාවට and attempted murder. Uh, attempted මැරීමට අනුබල දීම වගේ. Related to the East Sunday terror attack. The East Sunday terror attack passed with the Rastafari on April 21st, 2019. That's the date, right? Let's go to second paragraph. In addition to the death sentence, both accused were sentenced to 12 years rigorous imprisonment and ordered to serve the sentences concurrently for the remaining charges and ordered to a fine of 5,000 rupees each convicted charges by the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at one. In addition to the death sentence, in addition to the death sentence, both accused were sentenced to 12 years rigorous imprisonment. They were sentenced to 12 years and rigorous the imprisonment case prison can prison imprisonment case rigorous can rigorous imprisonment and ordered to serve the sentences concurrently for the remaining charges and ordered to fine of 5,000 each convicted charges. චෝදනා එකකට 5,000 ගන්න දඩ. චෝදනා 855ක් වුණා. 855න් 854කට වරද නඩු වුණා. ඒකට ඒකකට 5,000 ගන්න දඩ. Convicted charges by the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at ගන්නවනේ. කොළඹ ස්ථිර මහාධිකරණ ත්‍රිපුද්ගල මහාධිකරණ. හරිද? ඒකට the verdicts were delivered by Colombo High Court trial at bar bench comprising High Court judges Priyantha Liyanage, Viraj Veerasurya and Tilakaratna Bandara. The verdicts can court verdict can අධිකරණ තීන්දුව හරි තීන්දුව දුන්නහවද කියවක Colombo High Court trial at bar bench මේ මිනිසුරු තුන්දෙනා comprising High Court judges Priyantha Liyanage, Viraj Veerasurya and Tilakaratna Bandara. Those are the names of the three judges, High Court judges. The two-thirds split verdicts were delivered with the majority of the bench. Colombo High Court judges Priyantha Liyanage and Tilakaratna Bandara found Jayasundara and Fernando guilty on the relevant charges and imposed the death sentence. The two-thirds split verdicts, two-third can තුනෙන් දෙක. The one-third can one-third can ඉරෙන් උඩට එන්න එක third can තුන යටට. හරි one-third can තුන එකයි එහෙනම් තුනෙන් දෙක කියන්නේ two-third. අපි හතරෙන් තුනක් කියලා හතරෙන් තුනක් නම් එතකොට තුනක් කියන්නේ 3 then 3 හතර කියන්නේ 4th එහෙනම් 3/4 කියලා කියන්නේ 3/4 නම් 2/3 කියලා කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ 2/3 කියන්නේ තුනෙන් දෙක කියන්නේ හරි ඒ වගේ 2/3 split verdict split කියන එක බෙදුණු තීන්දුවක් දුන්නේ තුනෙන් දෙක තුන්දෙනාගේ එක්කෙනෙක් one judge acquitted them එක ජජ් කෙනෙක් ඒගොල්ලන් acquit කරා ඒකෝස් ප්‍රතිදහස් කරා මිතෝස් ප්‍රතිදහස් කරන කෙනෙක් acquit කරා අනිත් දෙන්න තමයි guilty කියලා වැරදි කියලා කිව්වේ ඒතර ඒ නිසා so it became a split verdict එක බෙදුණු තීන්දුවක් බවට පත් වුණා split verdicts were delivered with the majority of the bench Colombo bench එකේ තුන්දෙනාගේ බහුතරයක් තුනෙන් දෙකක් කිව්ව වැරදි කියලා Colombo High Court judges Priyantha Liyanage and Tilakaratna Bandara found Jayasundara and Fernando guilty අනේ judges දෙන්න ඒ දෙන්න guilty වැරදි කියලා තීරණය කරා on the relevant charges and imposed the death sentence මහදරුව දුන්නා Delivering the verdict, the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar observed that the State Intelligence Service had issued 8 intelligence alerts before the East Sunday suicide bombings. The court found that former Inspector General of Police, Poli Jayasundara, and former Defense Secretary Hemant Fernando failed to take any significant or reasonable steps to prevent the attacks despite receiving those intelligence. Right? Delivering the verdict, and the Colombo High Court trial at bar observed that the State Intelligence Service, State Intelligence Service, had issued 8 intelligence alerts. Alerts before the East Sunday suicide bombing. The court found that former Inspector General of Police and the former Itapu Police Pudi Jayasundar and former Defense Secretary Itapu Araksha MS Fernando failed to take any significant or reasonable steps. Very well, to take in gun, any significant or reasonable steps. Significant විශේෂ නැත්නම් සාධාරණ පියවර ගන්න බැරිලා තියෙනවා to prevent the attacks. To prevent වළක්වන්න. To prevent the attacks. මේ attack එක වළක්වන්න despite receiving those intelligence. Despite කියන්නේ නොතකා. ඒ නොතකා මොකක් නොතකාද? Despite receiving physical ලැබෙනවා කියන එක despite receiving those intelligence ඒ විතරතුරු ලැබීම නොතකා ඒක ලැබී එකක් නොතකා අවශ්‍ය සාධාරණ පියවර ගන්න බැරි වෙලා ඒගොල්ලෝ fail වෙලා තියෙනවා. That's why it is called professional negligence. සාපරාධී රාජකාරී පැහැදිලිනවා කියන පරපරම සෝදනවා. මමයි එන්නේ. හරිද? ඒක ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් ක්ලාස් එක මේවා කරාම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම හැමදාම මේවා කරාම තමයි ඉතින් ඇත්තටම ඉංග්‍රීසි පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. ඒකයි මම තුමියා ඇමීසා කියන එක ඔය ටික එක පැති වලට කරකෝ අවුරුද්ද පුරාම කරන්ද හරියන්නේ නැහැ. මරු බඩු ටිකක් ඉන්නවා ලංකාවේ. නියම ටොප් බඩු ටිකක් ඉන්නවා ලංකාවේ ඉංග්‍රීසි උගන්වනවා. මම දන්නවා ස්පෝකට් එක නම් කියන්නේ කියන්නේ උගන්වන එක කියනවා කෙලින්ම ඌම කියනවා උට කතා කරන්නත් බෑ උට වචන පහක් ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කරන්නත් බෑ මරු ඉංග්‍රීසි පුරාලා ඉන්නේ ඒ ඔන්ලයින් ප්ලැට්ෆෝම් වල කියනවා ඌ කෙලින්ම කියනවා මේ ඌ කියන හොඳ නෑ පුරුවරගෙන ගියා කෙලින්ම කියනවා මේ මට එච්චර කතා කරන්න බෑ හරිද මටම කතා කරන්න බෑ හැබැයි මට උගන්වන්න පුළුවන් හරිද ඒ කියන්නේ මට කතා කරන්න බෑ මට ඔයගොල්ලෝ කතා කරවන්න පුළුවන් කියනවා මාර බොරුදකින් කොහොමද දැන් කරන්නේ ඒක හරියට මේ වගේ හරියට මට අහවල් එක් කරන්න බෑ හැබැයි මට ළමයි පස් දෙනෙක් ඉන්න වගේ කතාවක් තමයි මට උගන්වන්න මට කතා කරන්න බෑ මම උගන්වන්නේ ස්පෝකන් ඉංග්‍රීසි බෝඩ් එකේ ගහලා තියෙන්නේ ස්පෝකන් ඉංග්‍රීසි IELTS එක ගහලා තියෙන්නේ හැබැයි මට කතා කරන්න බෑ මට වචන පහක් කතා කරන්න බෑ මම කතා කරන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ මොකද මම පුරේනේ මම කරන්න ඕනේ ග්‍රැමර් උගන්වන්න එකනේ බෝඩ් එකේ ලියන එකනේ හැබැයි මට උගන්වන්න පුළුවන් තේරෙන්න අන්තිර උගන්වන්න ගුරාටත් බෑ ඉගෙන ගන්න ළමයින්ටත් බෑ උන්ට කොහොමද බෑ ඒ නිසා තමයි ලංකාවේ තියෙන අවුල ඉංග්‍රීසි ස්පෙෂල් ස්පෝකන් ඉංග්‍රීසි එඩියුකේෂන් එකේ තියෙන අවුල ගොඩ හරි නරකම ක්ලාස් ගන්න ඒකයි ගොඩක් අය මොකද උගන්වන එකට කතා කරන්නත් බෑ ඒක උගන්වන එකට කතා කරන්න කරනවා අපෝ දෙන්නේ උන් කතා කරන්නේ ඉගෙන ගන්න කතා කරන්නේ කරලා තියෙන අමුලක ගුරුවා ඔය ඉන්න මහලු අරසර් මේසර්ගේ ලයිව් සෙෂන් කරනවා YouTube වල ලයිව් වෙනවා ඉල්ල බලන්න ඇම්බීසා අදිනවා අවුරුද්දක් විතර ඇම්බීසා එකේ කතා කරකෝ ඒකට වචන දදා බොරුවට සිංහලෙන් බය ගන්න සිංහලෙන් කියපු අදිනවා අවුරුද්දක් විතර මාළකුට කියනවා අවුරුද්දටම මාස 6ටම රුපියල් 2000යි මාස 6ට රුපියල් 5000යි. වහම මේක ඉන්න ලංකාවේ ඉන්න අමු හිඟන්න ඕනේ. උට නිකන් දෙනවා නම් අලුට දෙනවා නම් ඕන කුඹුඩක් ගන්න ඕනේ. රුපියල් 2000ක් විතර බැලුවම අවුරුද්දට රුපියල් 2000යි කිව්වම රුපියල් 2012න් බෙදුවම මාසෙට කීයද? ඈ මේ කියලා යනවා ඉතින්. ඉතින් අවුලක් නැහැ. ඉතින් උටස ටික කාලයක් මාස 3ක් 4ක් ගියට පස්සේ ටික ටික කට්ටිය කට්ටියට කියන්නෙත් නැතුව ක්ලාස් එක නවත්තලා දානවා. ඉතින් අවුරුද්දට අවුලක් නැහැ. මොකද රුපියල් 2000 ක් ගෙවලා තියෙනවා. ඔයාලට අවුලක් නැහැ. රුපියල් 25000 30000 5000 වගේ ගෙවලා තිබුණාම මොන දැනෙනවා. ඒවා ට්‍රික්ස් ඒවට අහු වෙන්න එපා. හරිද? මේ ඊට මේවා කරන්න ඕනේ. ග්‍රාමර් ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ. මේවා කරන්න ඕනේ. This is my newspaper. Reading newspaper is very important. Reading is really important. Right? That's why now in this news article alone, see how many new words are there, new legal words, new words are there, vocabulary is called vocabulary. Vocabulary improve කරගත්තාම වැඩේ ගොඩක්. හරිද? ඒ මේවා කරන්නේ. නිසා මේ ඔයාට අහු වෙන්න එපා මේ ගොඩක් අය මරණ ක්ලාස් ගන්න එකයි. හේතුව මොකද්ද? උගන්නන එකට කතා කරන්නත් බෑ. උගන්නන එකට කතා කරන්න බැරුණා ඉතින් ඕලයට කතා කරන්න බැරුණ එක ආනන්ද දෙන්නේ නැහැ. කරේ කියන්නේ.